Hey guys, what's up? It's Sacro. Welcome back. Today we had a new stratagem drop. We got the Quasar Cannon and the heavy machine gun. And as of recording this video, you know, they are new, they are fresh on the scene. So I wanted to get to them as fast as possible, see how they were, and drop some notes on them. Okay, so starting with the Quasar, it's a large one-shot laser cannon with no way to overcharge it, which means it essentially has infinite ammo. The heavy machine gun is the big brother to the machine gun, and it operates in much the same way. You're going to get the same thing with it, so if you are familiar with the machine gun, it's a bigger, heavier hitting version of that with the same amount of ammo as far as I'm concerned. At least it does have those two auxiliary clips with the one inside the gun. Let's get started with the pros and cons. Starting with the heavy machine gun. Pro number one, it packs a punch. I mean, this thing hits like a bus. And if you can land those shots where they need to be, they will obliterate your target, and it's doing everything up to heavy armor with no real issues. I even found it easier to hit the weak spots on chargers with it and kind of take them down that way. Number two, it does have an adjustable fire rate, which means if you want something faster, if you want something slower, you can go ahead and dial down that speed. I find that with the machine gun and the heavy machine gun, well, it applies to the machine gun, and I'm going to apply it to the heavy machine gun most likely. Slowing down your rate of fire really helps out. That means that you can kind of let that ammo clip last for a lot longer, so you're not constantly reloading. And trust me, with this thing, you will be constantly reloading. Number three, it does have a bigger range on it. It can reach out and touch somebody at around 80 meters down, maybe more if you're extremely skilled and you can lay down and pace your shots. It can reach out there. It is extremely accurate, which actually kind of causes an issue sometimes when you're trying to mow down those bugs, but we can get back to that one later. Number four, it sounds amazing. I mean, the machine gun already sounded great, but this thing is like the machine gun on crack. It's a cannon and it's shooting, and it feels good. It's shaking your body, it's shaking everything. That does kind of translate to another con that we can talk about later, but for now, hey, sounds great. Number five, it does words well. I mean, which you could probably imagine. As long as you're aiming down the sights and you've got good distance between you and the horde, you know everybody, where everybody's coming from, and you can kind of get those shots down range before they advance on your flank, it can handle a situation. Let's go the cons. So number one, it's slow to reload. I counted, it's around 6 seconds, which might not sound like much here, but in the heat of a battle, that can feel like minutes, if not more. You have to plan that reload, and it helps to bring along a rover guard dog just to keep people off of you while you're trying to get that 6-second reload down. Number two, terrible maneuverability. This thing, it shoots like a bus, it hits like a bus, but it also drives like a bus. It's going to take you a long time to acquire those targets, so make sure you know who you want to shoot. It's going to take a little bit more brain work to make sure you're getting that big giant cannon pointing where it needs to be pointed. Number three, terrible ammo economy. Even with the slower fire rates, which really surprised me, I felt like I was constantly reloading this gun. I'm sure you can make that work. I'm sure I tested all of this on solo just to get a more pure experience and just not have any other players really damaging everybody, so I could see what these weapons were doing on their own. So solo, I really did feel like it didn't have enough ammo to really handle everything, and like it needed another stratagem behind it, like an eagle cluster strike, probably just to soften the horde, and then you can go in and clean up with the HMG. Last but not least, accuracy was too good? I'll explain. Sometimes I would have my reticle just a few millimeters off of a target's head or leg or what have you, and it was missing, and I noticed I had to adjust back to bigger parts of the bugs to make sure I was hitting my targets, as opposed to like an HMG with a little bit of spread, so I can kind of just spray and pray. This thing is very deadly accurate. It can be a good thing. I'm calling it a bad thing because It is a heavy machine gun. I don't really need that much accuracy. I need to be able to just point and shoot. So I found that a little difficult to deal with. Final notes with it. I wasn't the biggest fan, and that might be because I'm more into the heavies, the one-shots, the spears, and the rocket launchers and things of that sort, because I find that dealing with hordes is kind of easier with a wide-ranging eagle attack or an orbital strike. These things are easier to deal with, lots and lots of bugs with, and with a weapon like this, you're going to need to focus down and fire down every single bug that you see. Well, unless you bring the rover pack, that'll help out with that. I didn't dislike the weapon overall, but I would say it's going to take me a little bit of time to maybe get used to it, maybe make a build to go around it. I wouldn't say jump on it immediately. Give it a try, of course, but it's definitely not a weapon that's going to be breaking the meta anytime soon. Okay, let's move on to the Quasar. Before I start, I'll say, out of the two, I like the Quasar better. Earlier, I did mention that I'm more into the heavy weapons right now. It seems like they're a little better for one person to deal with one heavy target as opposed to one person dealing with lots and lots of little targets. So the Quasar is definitely focusing on your heavier targets. So let's get into it. The Quasar also packs a punch. It's not as strong as a spear, but it's definitely in second place in the entire game as far as single shot damage from a handheld stratagem. And that might be debatable because we still got our anti-tank and we still have our eat, and those guys do pretty well, but I think the Quasar can one-shot a Bile Titan. I've seen it, I have not been able to replicate it myself, but if it can, that's doing better than at least the eat. So it's going to be somewhere in that range. The thing is, you can shoot it a lot faster, so that DPS is technically higher. Number 2, the Quasar has unlimited ammo. Like we discussed earlier, you have one shot, you have a cooldown, then you can fire again. I haven't tested the amount of time, and I will get to do that. Might even be able to put it into this video, but I haven't tested the time it takes. It's around 3 or 4 seconds. It wasn't too long. It was long enough that I could fire, kind of move around, reposition, get some of the little guys off me, and then by the time I pulled it back out again, it was ready to shoot. It's not super fast, it's not super OP, and I think they did a good job balancing the Quasar as far as that was concerned. Number 3, like I was saying earlier, it kind of has a quick cooldown, it has a quick recharge, so you can have this thing back, you can fire this thing multiple times during an engagement, if not 10 to 15 times, depending on how long it goes. You're not restricted to you know, that minute on the eat or that seemingly 10-second reload on the anti-tank. Now I know it's not, or not the anti-tank, the recoilless, and I know it's not 10 seconds, but it does feel like one of the longest reloads in this entire game. Number 4, unlike the spear, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite weapons in the game, the Quasar can be used on every single enemy. Now, you're not really going to want to fire down the small enemies, the small units, even up to the hunters. You're really going to want to use it on stalkers, chargers, Bile Titans, Bile Spewers. Maybe not the fastest for Bile Spewers, especially if you have a bunch of them, but it's fine in a pinch. And also those shielded mediums, the shielded red mediums. I need to think of their name, and I'll figure that out for you guys. Actually, number 5 is just easy to use. I felt like I picked it up out the box, and I fired it once, knew what I was doing, and went on. Not too much maintenance, not too much has to go into it. I might even try pairing it with a jump pack. It's just that easy. Now let's move on to the cons. Number 1, it can be inconsistent with its damage. I did fire it, what I felt, straight on to chargers and brood commanders, and I didn't get the instant kill, which I can kind of understand. It might be a little OP if the weapon was dropping everything it pointed at, but just, you can't rely on it 100% to drop your target the way you could if you faced a charger with an anti-tank or if you faced a Bile Titan with a spear. Number 2, and I was saying this earlier, we're going to lead on to that because Bile Titans are kind of huge, so focusing on the Bile Titan, it does take a little bit of work to down that Bile Titan. I could not get that one try, so it's a little more inconsistent. So kind of like 1 and 2 are kind of like the same thing. I had to split it up. It was hard to find cons for this thing. So yeah, just it's not as guaranteed. You are going to have to make sure you keep your eyes on your target to make sure it was felled. Number 3. Now this was actually a con. The shot does require a large amount of commitment, max commitment. So when you're pointing at somebody and you start charging up, you're going to see the spinning reticle. You have to keep that charge going. You can kind of keep it spinning on your own. It takes a little bit of work, but once you start firing that shot, you are basically keeping your reticle right on your target. Now, when you get better with timing, I'm sure you could count it out and hopefully nail your shot without having to paint down your target as you're charging. But for now, and at least for me, it does take a lot of commitment to shoot. So make sure you know you want a dispatch of the animal and or robot that you want to dispatch of. And again, this was all tested so far on bugs. I've been focusing on bugs a little bit, and then we're going to also take care of robots as well. So I might do an addition to this video, or I might make another one talking about the machine gun and the Quasar with them. But right now, we are just kind of focusing on bug notes. I am a big fan so far of the Quasar Cannon. I like the heavy machine gun. It just needs a little bit of tweaking. It needs a little bit of work. It needs some stratagems to really make it start to shine. But the Quasar is kind of good out the box as long as you have some main weapon that you're comfortable with and an Eagle Cluster Strike. You could probably take on any issue, and that's why I'm really liking it. So I'm probably going to end up making a Quasar build soon, and of course I'll make a machine gun build as well. I think every gun in the game deserves a build. So thanks so much for listening, and we're probably gonna speed over to some footage. Hey guys, if you made it this far and you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the Quasar and the heavy machine gun. Did I miss anything? And what stratagems do you think will pair really nicely with these guys? Let me know down in the comments, and I appreciate you.